So you want to learn how to code, huh? Well, you come to the right place. My name is TG Sido, and this is a course introduction. So who is TG? Who am I? I did my bachelor's at Stanford in electrical engineering, and I also did my master's there too in computer science. Lastly, I also taught the introductory computer science class CS106A as a TA for 2 years, working with students with little to no experience in computer science. What are our course goals here? What are we actually trying to achieve? We want to go from zero to hero as a programmer. We want to learn the following: variables, control flow, functions, animation, lists, and much, much more. And lastly, we want to have fun. We got to learn a lot and also have fun. Okay, are you ready? If you're ready, go ahead and spam the comments and say, I'm ready. In terms of what we need to get started, these are the 3 things. You need a computer, you need internet access, and you need the willingness to learn. With those 3, you're set. Okay, so now that we can get into setup, make sure that you have a Google account. If you don't have a Google account, pause this video, make a Google account, then come back here. Okay? Now go ahead and navigate to colab.research.google.com in your browser. I'll go ahead and click the link. As we can see over here, this is kind of just a little welcome screen. You may not have these notebooks. Don't worry. This is the environment that we're actually going to code in. And so now back to the slides. We're going to get to some initial tools that will be useful for our lecture examples today. Okay? So input. Input is a command that actually helps you take in typed user input. So if you want to ask the user to type in something, you want to use this command. Next, we're going to get to variable. A variable is basically a container or a box for information to help you store information. In our case, we're actually going to use a variable to store whatever the user typed in, whatever the user input was. And finally, we get to print. Print is a command that actually helps you print something to the screen, as the name suggests. So any type of message, you can print it to the screen with this command called print. Okay? So now moving forward, we're going to get to these intro lecture examples. And so I'm going to click on this exercises link. Note that the exercises, as well as the solutions and the links for the slides are all in the video description, so no worries there. So I'm going to go ahead and click in here. And so now here are our tasks. Task 1, ask the user for their age, then print it out for them. So we're literally going to get our feet wet coding right now. But don't worry, this is going to be a lot, but we're going to use the tools we discussed. So ask the user for their age, then print it out for them. So for the first part, ask the user for their age. That sounds like user input. So let me go ahead and use the input function and then store it in an age variable. So I'm going to say over here, age is equal to input, and now I'm going to ask them for their age. Enter your age. I don't know why I said it in that voice. Okay, so I've asked for some user input, and then I'm going to store it in a variable, which is a box called age. Okay? And now it says, then print it out for them. So I'm going to print out their age. I'm going to say print your, and then I'm going to say whatever their age was, which should be stored in this age box. And then I'm going to say over here, years old. Okay? So over here, I'm actually getting the user input. I'm storing it in this variable called age, and then I'm printing it out with some dressing. The dressing is all in red and in quotes. This is just some additional text to help make it understandable. Okay? So now it's going to ask me this note saying that the notebook was authored by TG Sido Teaches at Gmail. Don't worry about this. You guys can read this and decide if you want to click through. I'm going to go ahead and click through. This is safe. So now it's asking me for my user input. I'm going to put in my age. I'm 24. Okay? And now it's going to print out that message. You're 24 years old. Liddy. Okay, so now for task 2. It's going to be very similar. Ask the user for their first name and their last name, then print it out for them. So along the same lines as what we discussed in task 1, we're going to do the same thing, but now we're going to need to get user input twice and have 2 different variables and then print out a longer message. Okay, so first name, our first variable, we're going to get in that user input and we're going to ask them, enter your first name. Cool. All right, last name. Input. enter your last name. Cool. So now we've gotten user input for the first name and user input for the last name. And we're going to print out that message. So print, thanks, your name is, and I'm going to have over here, first name, plus a little space, and their last name. And don't worry about the pluses and all the additional dressing text in red. We're going to discuss that in future lessons. So now we're going to have this over here, and we're going to say a little additional message with a smiley face. So thanks, your name is, and we have their first name, space, last name. So let's go ahead and run this. Remember, to run, you can either press the play button or you can do Shift Enter. I prefer to do Shift Enter, but no worries there. Enter your first name, TG. Got it right? All right. Next one, Sido. Cool. Thanks. Your name is TG Sido. So now that we've knocked out these first two examples, this is a lot of stuff. We're going to break this down in the slides following. So stay with me, guys. Okay. So what are we doing here? Again, this is from the previous example. We have input. So remember, input is a command we're asking for the age, and we're going to store it in the age variable. So input is a command that takes in user input, that's text. And the format is input, parentheses, prompt, and the prompt can be anything. You can ask for anything. Enter your age, enter your first name. And then finally, in our case, enter your age is the prompt for the first task. Now over here, we're going to say print, and then your age, years old, right? In this case, print is a command, and it basically just prints a message to the screen. In the format, whenever you use print, is print with a message, and the message can be anything. In our case, it was your plus age plus years old. Remember, the dressing is in red and in quotes, and this is just to help it more, make it more understandable when you actually print it out. And finally, there's a lot more to print, but we'll discuss that in future lessons. I know I've said that a lot already, but we're just getting started right now, so bear with me. Okay, so now over here at a bit of a higher level, we want to ask the user to enter their age. That's what this is doing over here. And so we've asked them to enter their age with this function and this prompt input, right? And so now we're going to go forward. And so now this comes on the screen, and so they can type something in. I typed in 24. Next, we're actually going to see that whatever was typed in is going to be stored in this age variable. Remember, the age variable is like a box. So it's going to store that 24. And then finally, we're going to be over here, and we're going to see what's printed out. And as you see over here, it's because age is actually 24. So you're saying print your 24 years old. And so that's the final output. Okay, so now we're done with the lecture example. Thank you guys so much for watching and learning. We're going to discuss more next week about variables and cool stuff to do with variables. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.